friends. Today I am going to talk about Carol and Duffy. Well, we know that PG semester 4 syllabus of University of Gaurbanga Department of English contains 5 poems that you are required to study. These 5 poems are by Carol and Duffy. The poems are Warming Her Pearls, In Mrs. Tilcher's Class, Valentine, Anne Hathaway, and The Last Post. Hello? হ্যাঁ ওই তো লিঙ্কটা দেওয়া হয়েছে পার্সুটে। Well, am I coming loud and clear to you? Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Carol N. Duffy was born in 1955. Carol N. Duffy, that means, is now 65 years old. She was born in Glasgow. Why am I talking about her? Because she is one of the foremost contemporary British poets. Over and above that, Carol N. Duffy is a very important British playwright, a writer of fiction and non-fiction. She is also a regular broadcaster, an academician. At present, she is the director of the creative writing program in the Manchester Metropolitan University. Now, Carol N. Duffy was born, as I have already told you, in Glasgow. So she is a Glaswegian, and she is Scottish. Now, Carol N. Duffy is one of the iconoclastic figures, a culture icon of her times. Why? Because she has broken many molds. She is a woman, a lesbian, a bisexual to be precise. She is a poet with an amazing range of interest, an amazing depth of insight, and at the same time, a poet of the demotic, everyday, colloquial style that once upon a time William Wordsworth has propagated as one of the most important features of accessible poetry that could be read and appreciated. Now, Carol N. Duffy is one of the different kind of poets who is at the same time very prolific, very popular, and also promoted by the academia, by the intelligentsia. Her poetry is studied as avidly by critics, teachers, scholars, and students like you in the university as is it read by the lay readers. You will be amazed to know that she has come up with not only books of poems for adults, but also picture books, poetry books for children, for young adults, celebratory verses, many very important plays both for radio and for the stage. She has written quite a number of books on non-fiction. She has extensively toured both at home and abroad. She has received many awards. And last but not least, from 2009 to 2019, she was Britain's Poet Laureate. So she succeeded Andrew Motion. Now, in this, she also broke another mold because she was the first woman lesbian poet, obviously, who actually brought new blood to this conservative institution of 350 years running. Carolyn Duffy, my dear friends, has written many books of poems. For adults, those books are, I am only giving you some of them. Standing Female Nude, Selling Manhattan, The Other Country, Meantime, World's Wife, Feminine Gospels, The Bees, Rapture. Then she has also written such poems as books as the Jubilee Lines. She has edited this because she was at that time the Poet Laureate, and during the Jubilee year of the Queen, 60 years of her reign, she had to edit 60 poems by 60 poets on each of the 60 years of the Queen's reign, the Jubilee Lines. Not only this, in 2015, she also brought out a book called 1914 Poetry Remembers, from which your selected poem, The Last Post, has been taken. She has also extensively written for children, for her own daughter, Ella. She became very much interested in young readers. And she has written, as I have already told you, plays such as Take My Husband and Loss, and quite a number of other poems as well. She has received many awards, as I have told you. The T.S. Eliot Prize, the Leland Foundation Award, the Somerset Maugham Prize, the Whitbread Prize, and so on and so forth. As a mark of a great honor shown only to quite a few poets, her papers have been taken up by an educational institution in 1999. Now, it shows that Carolyn Duffy has received both popular and highbrow acclaim, as I was telling you just beforehand. Now, why is Carolyn Duffy important? I am talking about these 5 poems first. We all know Nurul has helped me a lot in finding out, because of the lockdown, we could not access the university library and even my own library. And that's why it was very difficult for us to find out which poem has been taken from which book. I am going to talk about, first of all, Anne Hathaway. which has been taken from The World's Wife. Now, this is a very, very interesting book. It actually is a collection of poems that celebrates, no, not the great men, but their wives. Great men from history and fiction, like Aesop, like Darwin, like Shakespeare, and so on and so forth. And Carol and Duffy actually gives us the version of their lives from the perspective not of these great luminaries, but their spouses, their wives. And that's why this book of poems has been called The World's Wife. Sometimes Carol and Duffy's tone is serious, sometimes playful, humorous. But all the times, her background as a student of philosophy in the University of Liverpool, her background as a reader of humanity, as a student of humanity, her background as a woman who, even during the heydays of Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher and her rule, Thatcherism, could dare to push back the boundaries of sexual orientation. She was almost Teresias-like, greatly versed in not only the physical but also the emotional aspect of love of different kinds. She has had romantic relationships with Adrian Henry for 11 years. She has had a long-standing relationship, a love relationship with a fellow woman poet, Jackie Kay, for 15 years, from 1989 to 2004. Unfortunately, they had broken up. And she has also given birth to a child in 1995, Ella, whose biological father is one of the fellow poets, Peter Benson. Now, Carolyn Duffy does not want to be pigeonholed as a feminist. Here, Shilpi will understand why Carol and Duffy prefers to be given a free rein without being pigeonholed by categorizers. She, almost like Kamala Das before her, has also understood one thing, that patriarchy has been a menace not only to women but also to many men. And that is why, even though her gender perspective is obviously and naturally that of a woman in most of the cases, she has also tried to empathize with her male counterparts. This is why Carol and Duffy has appealed not only to one section of the society, one section, a niche market of the poetry lovers. Her appeal has been and still is quite widespread. Carol and Duffy plays with words like her very famous predecessors such as Shakespeare or John Donne. She plays with words. She uses colloquial language of everyday speech, a la William Wordsworth. She writes sonnets almost in the manner of Shakespeare and Keats. She often writes dramatic monologues because she wants to delve deep into the workings of human psyche. In this, she has been linked with someone like Robert Brown. She has often written about the surrealist moments of life, like Dylan Thomas. She has often talked about memory and nostalgia, and in a dry, humorous way, just like Philip Larkin. She has at the same time never tried to downplay her Scottish ancestry. So we can very easily understand that Carol and Duffy, so far as her poetic heritage is concerned, has been very deliberately eclectic. And that's why Carol and Duffy's poetry will pose a very big challenge by way of your interpretation of those poems. You know, let us take up the poems because our discussion of Carol and Duffy will be greatly moderated and modulated by the choice of the texts that we have before us. Now, Warming Her Pulse is about a working class woman, a servant girl, who puts on the pearl necklace, presumably to warm it up, to be worn in nighttime parties on social occasions by her mistress, an upper class woman who all day long fans herself, remains cool. But at that time, the maid servant works and that bodily heat seeps into the pearls. Now, the relationship, the mental attachment that the girl, that means the maid servant, holds for her mistress is quite ambivalent. On the one hand, she is deeply aware of the class chasm that holds them apart. On the other hand, she also desires her maidservant, desires her more fortunately placed employer, her mistress. When I discuss this poem, I will obviously discuss it in greater detail. In Miss Tilcher's class, it is basically a campus poem. It talks about the days in the school, in the classroom, that the speaker recalls, with mixed emotions of nostalgia and a curious kind of an apathy at times. So far as Valentine is concerned, if my memory serves me correctly, Nurul will correct me if I am wrong, it has been taken from Meantime. Now, Valentine is a peculiar kind of a love poem, where the speaker tries to problematize the stereotype that we associated with love, lovers, and love gifts. The speaker says that she will not give the beloved either roses or satin hearts, but an onion. Now, onion is a peculiar kind of a signifier because you peel off successive layers and it works on many layers, on many levels. The tears that it causes may be symbolic of the tears that the lover may cause to the beloved, that the love affair may cause to the beloved. Now, so far as world's wife is concerned, we have already talked about the fact that the poem that we have chosen is Anne Hathaway. Now, if I am correct, we all know that Anne Hathaway was Shakespeare's wife, and after his death, it was revealed, after the death of Shakespeare, it was revealed. After the death of Shakespeare, it was revealed that Shakespeare has left in his will the second best bed for his wife. Now, this gives the poet a suitable point of departure, where he takes issues with those who find this as a gross insult of the woman. She seems to point out that it was the last romantic gesture from a passionate lover, Shakespeare, to his wife. The second best bed was their marital bed. It was a witness to their passionate love. So, this gift, this bequest, was indicative of the great and passionate affection that the departed lover has ever felt for the beloved. But a poet par excellence, a poet per se, is not to be easily paraphrased. There are turns and twists that every poet worth his or her name will give to the unwary reader. The tone and the mental attitude of speaker, Anne Hathaway, towards both the lover, Shakespeare, the departed husband, but also to his gift, that is the second best gift, can be said to be marked by evidence. I will discuss this poem. Will focus on this aspect of the poem in detail. Naturally, in Mr. class, yes, Valentine and Anne Hathaway. Yes, the last post. Well, when was the First World War fought? Between 1914 and 1918. So when 2014 came, it called for a massive celebration of the First World War and Britain's war efforts. Because Britain was on the side of the victors, not on the side of the vanquished like Germany. So there was much to celebrate. But every national honor is won at the cost of the blood, tears, and sweat of the soldiers. As people like Siegfried Sassoon or Wilfred Owen have categorically shown us. So, the last post we all know is the last salute given to a martyr, to the dead soldier. So, we'll see how this poem gives us a very, very emotional farewell to those who have passed on before us. So far as the themes of Caroline Duffy's poetry are concerned, she talks about many things: political, social, and cultural issues, the question of representation and the inherent politics thereof, the importance of language, how meaning and reality is ultimately, how meaning and reality are ultimately constructed by language through our thought process. How the mind works, negotiating the many pools of the self and the world outside. All these things have been dealt with by Caroline Duffy in a very simple, deceptively simple, often, language and style. But if we think that Caroline Duffy's poetry is very simple, very easy, as some of our critics have tried to point out, who have actually tried to find faults with her for being too populist. Contrary to their opinion, if we read the poems without only taking the words of those critics as the Vedvakya, as the ultimate truth, then we will commit a very grievous mistake. The simplicity of Caroline Duffy is deceptive. She writes about love, writes about the absence of love, writes about death, writes about the many struggles and turmoils that women, and for that matter, common men also, have to face in a very, very rigidly hierarchized social space. She writes sonnets. Sometimes, when she deals with love, she can also use one of the most important and most ancient of the conservative poetic forms as the ballad. But at the same time, she also talks about, in her poetry, the pains, the traumatic experiences that flesh is heir to, if we borrow the words of Hamlet here. Now, so far as imagery is concerned, you'll see that Carolyn Duffy is a poet very hard to categorize. Sometimes the images abound. Sometimes when she becomes more argumentative and philosophical, images actually die out. Sometimes she also has the habit of speaking almost in maxims. That all the time, the left wing views, the egalitarian concerns force even this official poet laureate to address issues that have often landed her into hot water in government circles. Carolyn Duffy has written a book out of fashion. It is a kind of a imaginary conversation between ancient and modern poets regarding the contradictory views on the nature and scope of poetry and of fashion. Now, Carolyn Duffy is nothing if not daring. But because she is daring and bold in her poetic praxis, it does not follow therefrom that she is always, all the time, crying out slogans, that she is writing agitprop. Sometimes she does. But often, her tone is language. Often, her note is even melancholy. But all the time, she never lacks the gift of sympathy. Not only for the fortunate ones, but also for the social misfits, the dropouts, the outcasts. Arthur Rimbaud, I'm very much fond of this poet, and that's why often I actually refer to his words. Rimbaud had once said that a poet is responsible not only for all of humanity, but for all of the living beings. It seems that Carolyn Duffy also believes in that maxim of Rimbaud. Sometimes, if she chooses and if the subject demands, she can be minimalistic, very, very miserly in her choice of words, use of words and phrases. Very sharp, bare, and even brutal. But when the mood takes her, she can be as mellow, as languid as some of her romantic predecessors were. So, I have today tried to give you some idea of what kind of a poet Carolyn Duffy is. When in 1999, the laureate's post was vacant, Carolyn Duffy had been passed over, and Andrew Motion had been given the post. At that time, Carolyn Duffy was very, very dismissive, very left-wing in her views at that time. She even said, I will not write about Edward and Sophia. No self-respecting poet should write about these things. Celebratory verses that a poet laureate has to churn out from time to time on various royal occasions and state occasions as well, felt very tedious and irksome to this young thug of a poet. But 10 years afterwards, in 2009, she almost shocked the public by accepting the laureateship. At that time, she said that her teenager daughter Ella's concerns and her opinions only mattered. But by becoming the poet laureate, she has helped broaden the scope and the expectations, the scope of the poet laureate's duties, and also the expectations that the reading public has of a poet laureate, who in the case of Karen Duffy has not been one of an old fogey, but a very, very alert, very, very self-conscious poet who can balance her own poetic desires and her official duties as the official poet of the United Kingdom. I will provide materials on the poet and her poems. I will also discuss the poems in greater detail later on. And at the same time, I will provide you very good quality on the poems themselves. So, in this discussion, I would now like to invite questions, comments, and any additions that you may choose to endow, you may choose to give me. So it's over to you, guys. Those who have questions may unmute themselves and also ask questions. গার্গী, কারো কি কোনো প্রশ্ন আছে? হ্যালো।
না স্যার, কারোর কোনো কোশ্চেন নাই মনে হয়।
দেখো, জিজ্ঞেস করো, বাকিরা একজন একজন করে করতে পারো, যে কেউ প্রশ্ন করতে পারো, ইউ আর ফ্রি। নো কোয়েশ্চেনস। হ্যাঁ, ইয়েস, কাম ইন।
স্যার বলছি অ্যানি হ্যাথওয়ে যে পোয়েমটা ছিল এটা কোন বই থেকে নেওয়া হয়েছিল আরেকবার বলবেন প্লিজ?
ওয়ালস ওয়াইফ, অ্যান হ্যাথওয়ে। Go on. 145
Sir.
sonnet number. If you read sonnet number 145 by Shakespeare, you will get an oblique reference to Anne Hathaway. Okay, in the last lines of the sonnet. Yes, go on.
স্যার আমি অরবিন্দ বলছি।
বলো।
স্যার বলছি যে আগের দিন একটা কোশ্চেন আমি স্যার করতে পারিনি আর কি।
বলো।
বলছিলাম যে মডার্নিজমের কনটেক্সটে স্যার হাই ব্রো এন্ড লো ব্রো জনরাস বলতে কি বুঝি আমরা?
Very good question. Now, modernism, like any other period-based movement, বুঝতে পারছো তো? ধরো মডার্নিজমের আমরা মোটামুটি এই মুভমেন্টটার আমরা সময়টা কি ধরি? ধরো the first half of the 20th century, arguably, yes or no?
ইয়েস স্যার।
তাহলে ধরে নাও প্রায় 50-60 বছর ধরে যে জিনিসটা চলেছে। আমি তো এর আগের দিন বলেছিলাম যে মডার্নিজম ওয়াজ নট এ monolithic construction. Modernism does not mean that there was only one kind of movement.
ইয়েস স্যার।
বাকিরা মিউট করে নিতে পারো, আওয়াজ আসছে। কে মিউট করে নিলে বাবা? বাকিরা মিউট করো, অরবিন্দ থাকুক। কি বলছিলাম অরবিন্দ?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, ওই মডার্নিজম আইব্রো লোব্রো জনরাস।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ। Actually, modernism was not a monolith by any stretch of the imagination. আমি এর আগের দিনই বলেছিলাম মডার্নিজম was the conglomeration, the umbrella term from various movements. Imagism was there, symbolism was there, impressionism, post-impressionism, other vorticism, cubism, অনেক কিছু ছিল ওখানে। এবার এর মধ্যে কিছু কিছু ছিল পপুলার মুভমেন্টস, যেগুলো বেসিক্যালি পপুলার লিটারেচার, মডার্নিজমের সময় কিন্তু প্রচুর পপুলার লিটারেচার লেখা হয়েছে, সেইগুলোকে আমরা বলি লোব্রাও। আর যেই জিনিসগুলো হচ্ছে সেলফ কনসিয়াসলি এক্সপেরিমেন্টাল, অ্যাভাঙ্গার্ড, like the writings of say someone like James Joyce or T.S. Eliot for that, এগুলোকে আমরা বলি হাইব্রাউ। writings of people like Ford, Maynard Ford, এটাকে আমরা বলি হাইব্রাউ। বোঝা গেল?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, একদম। স্যার আরেকটা ছিল স্যার, আরেকটা
বলো।
বলছি যে মডার্নিজমের ক্ষেত্রে ওখানে বলছে যে অ্যাডিয়ার্স টু ওয়েস্টার্ন হেজিমনিক ভ্যালুস। তো ওয়েস্টার্ন হেজিমনিক
আবার
ভ্যালুস
আমি শুনতে পেলাম না, শুনতে পেলাম না।
ওয়েস্টার্ন হেজিমনিক ভ্যালুস এর ব্যাপারে যদি কিছু বলেন। Modernism tries to adhere to Western hegemonic values. So, what is hegemonic values? Western hegemonic values, but
বলো, কার্ডন বলো, বলো, কোনো জায়গায় একটু দেখে নেবে। দেখো, হেজিমনি is both the desire and the practice of perpetuating the hold of power by the dominant classes and the discourses. এটা বুঝতে পারছো?
yes, yes, sir.
আর কিসের শব্দ হচ্ছে? কে এখানে আনমিউট কে কে করেছে? অরবিন্দ, পারলে দরজাটা বন্ধ করো। তোমার মনে হয় দরজা মানে ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড নয়েজ হচ্ছে প্রচন্ড।
না স্যার, এখানে কিছু
আচ্ছা, যেটা বলছিলাম, মানে যাদের পাওয়ার থাকে তারা তার হোল্ড অন পাওয়ার সবসময় পাওয়ারটাকে ইয়ে করার চেষ্টা করে, পারপিচুয়েট করার চেষ্টা করে, চিরন্তন করার চেষ্টা করে। এবার ওয়েস্টার্ন হেজিমনি কি? যেই জিনিসগুলোকে ওয়েস্ট হোল্ডস ডিয়ার, যেগুলোকে পারপিচুয়েট করতে চায় ওয়েস্ট, তো ওয়েস্ট কোন জিনিসগুলোকে পারপিচুয়েট করার চেষ্টা করছিল? The idea of progress, the idea of the nation state, the idea of imperialism, এই জিনিসগুলোকে পারপিচুয়েট করার চেষ্টা করছে ওয়েস্ট। ক্লিয়ার?
Yes, sir.
And modernism willy-nilly toes that line. মডার্নিজম কিন্তু এই জিনিসগুলোকে অ্যাডহিয়ার করছে, ওটাকে ফলো করে যাচ্ছে, সাপোর্ট করছে, ওটাকে পারপিচুয়েট করার চেষ্টা করছে। আর কোনো প্রশ্ন?
স্যার আর নেই, থ্যাংক ইউ।
ওকে, গার্গী, কতক্ষণ হয়েছে আজকের ক্লাস? হ্যালো,
না স্যার 45 মিনিট।
তাহলে আজকে এটুকুই থাকুক। আর কারো যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে, ফিল ফ্রি টু আস্ক মি এনি কোয়েশ্চেন দ্যাট ইউ।
স্যার
হ্যাঁ,
স্যার মধুরিমা
বলো।
স্যার একটা কোশ্চেন যে স্যার হোয়াট ওয়াজ
আচ্ছা, লাইট
মডার্নিস্ট
চলে গেছে, সেটা কিন্তু একটা সমস্যা। হ্যাঁ, বলে দিলাম। হ্যাঁ, বলো।
হ্যাঁ স্যার হোয়াট ওয়াজ মডার্নিস্ট ওয়াজ নট নেসেসারিলি অলসো পোস্ট মডার্ন ওয়াই ইজ ইট সো স্যার
আরেকবার বলো, হোয়াট।
হোয়াট ওয়াজ মডার্নিস্ট ওয়াজ নট নেসেসারিলি অলসো পোস্ট মডার্ন
দেখো, ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে এই মডার্নিজম বা পোস্ট মডার্নিজম, আমি এর আগের দিন বলেছিলাম না যে অনেক সময় আমরা মডার্নিস্ট পিরিয়ডের লিটারেচারটাকে আর্লি 20th সেঞ্চুরি লিটারেচার বলার চেষ্টা করছি, পোস্ট মডার্ন লিটারেচারটাকে পোস্ট ওয়ার বলার চেষ্টা করছি, বলছি কিনা? কেননা এগুলো অনেক বেশি সেফ। কেন সেফ? কেননা মডার্নিজমের সময় যারা ছিল তারা যে সবাই মডার্নিস্ট ছিল তা তো নয়।
না
People like Dejman were not modernist by any stretch of the imagination. Even যারা ক্রোনোলজিক্যালি পোস্টমডার্নিজমকে ওই সময়টা ইনহেবিট করছে, সেই সময়টা দে আর বিলঙ্গিং টু দ্য পোস্ট মডার্ন এজ, তাদের মধ্যেও কেউ কেউ হয়তো মডার্নিস্ট আছে। তাহলে এই জন্যই বলা হচ্ছে এই যে ডিফারেন্স গুলো, তুমি ভাবো, প্রথম কথা হচ্ছে যে সবাই কি একটা সময়ে থাকলেই কি সবাই সেই পার্টিকুলার প্রিভ্যালেন্ট মুভমেন্টটাকে সাপোর্ট করবে? এর তো কোনো মানে নেই। এটাই বলা হচ্ছে।
ওকে ওকে স্যার
ওকে,
হ্যাঁ স্যার
হ্যাঁ বলো। আর কারো? ঠিক আছে গার্গী, তাহলে আমার মনে হচ্ছে
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
okay, this much for the time being. I will obviously let you know about the next session that I will have with you. Okay,
ওকে
take care. আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। ওকে,
Yes.
ঠিক আছে।